everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for coming on this beautiful day. So I just wanted to quickly introduce our speaker. This is Carol Ullerich. She is a Paducah native, growing up at the Graham's Nursery and Landscape Service on Camera Road. What is now Renee's across from Hike's Farm was her grandmother's home. The nursery was launched there by her grandfather in 1898 and operated for 1 century. Her mother was a landscape architect. Carol graduated from Heath High School, Murray State University, and the University of Kentucky College of Law. Much of her legal career was spent in Frankfort as an assistant attorney general and later as general counsel for the administrative office of the courts. She completed her legal career clerking for the Kentucky Court of Appeals and then the Supreme Court of Kentucky. Upon returning to Paducah, she completed UK's Master Gardener program and became an accredited Master Flower Show judge within the National Garden Club. She is a former member of the McCracken County Civic Beautification Board and chaired the McCracken County Fair Flower Show 3 years, including an online show during COVID. For 2 years, she wrote Embracing Our Age, a full-color magazine published quarterly, catering to senior citizens in Western Kentucky, Southern Illinois, and Northeastern Tennessee. Carol is a longtime member of the Paducah Symphony Orchestra Board. She volunteers at the Carson Center, Symphony Hall, the Inland Waterways Museum, and the Market House Theater. She is also a tour guide for riverboat passengers stopping in Paducah, specializing in bus and walking tours of Paducah's floodwall murals. Finally, she is a Paducah ambassador, chairing its traveling classroom. Please welcome Carol Ullerich.
Thank you, and welcome. So, one last time, if you haven't taken a screenshot of this page, I ask that you do that now. It'll be your last opportunity, and you might want to access these documents at another time. So, if you've got that screenshot, you can do that. So good morning and welcome to Discovering Dogwoods, the April 2026 edition of Four Seasons with Master Gardeners. I'm Carol Ullerich, a Master Gardener since 2004. I don't profess to be an expert on dogwoods. I have an interest in them. I grow several varieties. I've researched, observed, and admired them for many years. My goal is for each of you to leave here today with a nugget of new information. If I accomplish that, my time with you will have been well spent. The ground rules for today. This presentation is being recorded and can be accessed in 7 to 10 days on the McCracken County Extension YouTube page. And on that screenshot that you just took, you've got the link for that page. I will not take questions during my prepared remarks. If you have questions, make a note. At the conclusion, come to the podium and we can chat. All requests for chemical recommendations today will be referred to Gracie Moffett, Agriculture and Natural Resources Agent here in McCracken County, or Savannah Gilbert, Horticulture Assistant, who just introduced me here in McCracken County. Normally those questions would be referred to Mary Dossett. She is the horticulture agent here in McCracken County, but she is unable to be with us today. So both Gracie and Savannah are here. The Paducah Public Library is collecting dogwood resource material, and the first item is this book by Paul Cappiello and Don Shadow, published in 2005. Cappiello is Executive Director of Udell Gardens in Crestwood, Kentucky, outside Louisville. He spoke on dogwoods here in Paducah several years ago at the invitation of the Paducah Garden Club. The co-author is the late Don Shadow, a celebrated nurseryman whose Tennessee nursery I visited many times as a child. Cornice, Florida's Celestial Shadow carries the Shadow name because Don Shadow introduced them, or friends and colleagues named their introductions for him. A wildlife conservation activist, Shadow raised and preserved more than 60 species of animals on his farm in Winchester, Tennessee. So all of us begin on the same footing. The two best known and most popular dogwood types are Cornus florida, known as the flowering dogwood, and pronounced just like the state of Florida, Florida meaning the tree flowers, and Cornus cusa, known as the Asian dogwood, which are hybrids that are more disease and insect resistance. Notice the distinction in those four lobes, white on the left, pink on the right. If you call them blooms or flowers, you are mistaken. They are neither blooms nor flowers. They are modified leaves protecting the true flowers, which are in the center. The true flowers may appear green, but are mostly yellow. The white lobes of the Cornus florida on the left and the pink lobes of the Cornus cusa on the right are correctly called bracts. That's B as in boy, R-A-C-T-S. Each is a cluster of 4 bracts. This being the day after Easter, some say the small true flowers in the center of the blue circle on the left represent the crown of thorns placed atop Christ's head, with the 4 bracts forming a cross. Note the notches on the left inside the red ovals and the pointed tips of the cusa on the right, again inside the red ovals. Many believe those red-tinged notches are where nails were placed in Christ's hands to attach him to the cross, with the red tinge representing his blood. There are other associations between the dogwood and Easter. Christ was crucified on a cross made from a dogwood. However, the dogwood of yesteryear, which outgrew mighty oaks and cedars and became the tree of choice for construction, is probably not the dogwood we know today. The dogwood's trunk remains quite dense, but most dogwoods are thin-trunked with delicate branches. The website alwaystheholiday.com says Jesus cursed the dogwood never to grow tall enough to support another body, but instead to grow beautiful bracts to bloom at Easter. With those provisos in mind, let's travel Paducah's Dogwood Trail. The Dogwood Trail is a thing of beauty, but it's also a competition. A few homeowners along the trail will receive a Dogwood Award, like this one, photographed last Thursday on 6th Street in Lower Town. New for 2026 is a competition putting you in the picture. Find these dogwood decals around town, take a selfie showing the decal and the surrounding scene. The person submitting the most different selfies wins a prize. April 15 and 16, you can see ways to use dogwoods in floral design, plus horticulture and photography, when the Paducah Garden Club hosts Among the Dogwoods, a club flower show at Paducah City Hall. It is open to the public from 2 until 4 on Wednesday, April 15th, and on Thursday, April 16th, from 8 a.m. until noon, and that show is free. Find a map of Paducah's Dogwood Trail online. It's been an annual rite of spring since 1964. The idea was borrowed from Knoxville, Tennessee, where a garden club launched a beautification project to refute a New York City reporter's declaration. Knoxville is the ugliest city I ever saw in America. That 1947 pronouncement led to creation of Knoxville's Dogwood Arts Festival, which is still growing strong today. Palestine, Texas also has a Dogwood Festival. But back to Knoxville. In 1964, then Paducah City Commissioner, future Mayor of Paducah, and Kentucky State Representative for a decade, Dolly McNutt, visited Knoxville for a business meeting. Fortuitously, her trip coincided with Knoxville's Dogwood Arts Festival and Dogwood Trail. Knoxville being further south than Paducah, their dogwoods bloom earlier than ours. McNutt viewed the Knoxville Trail at night, seeing firsthand how spotlights magnify and enhance the colorful dogwood bracts. Returning to Paducah excited and highly enthusiastic, McNutt quickly convinced the Paducah Civic Beautification Board to launch the Paducah Dogwood Trail that same year. Paducah's 1964 trail covered only 2 blocks on Sycamore Drive. No awards were given, but every homeowner participated. Like today, the first trail could be viewed from a car, on foot, or on a bike. The trail has grown steadily in size and breadth. This year's 62nd version offers more than 20 miles of spectacular trees and 3 alternate routes of varying length. The tour can be taken day and night. Trail signs and banners showcase artwork by former Beautification Board Chair Carol Vanderboe. Find more details on the Paducah Dogwood Trail Facebook page. Use the QR code on the map to access running commentary recorded by Paducah ambassadors and heard on 16 radio stations. This year's trail theme is Bloom Bright, Paducah. Judging has already occurred. Look for signs in winning yards. May 12th, award winners will be formally recognized at City Hall in a 4:30 reception. Sunday, April 12th at 2:30 p.m. is the free Community Dogwood Trail bike ride organized by Bike World. Meet at the store with your bike and bike helmet. The complete course covers about 11 miles, marked with signs. You may shorten the ride to meet your abilities. Contact Bike World if you have questions. The finale of the bike ride is dinner on the grounds at Bike World. The rain date is April 19th at 2:30. While dogwoods herald spring in Paducah, they aren't the only early spring bloomers putting on a show. Dogwoods combine well with azaleas, maples, forsythia, weeping cherry, fruiting pears, cherries, and apples, magnolia, Carya japonica, plum, eastern redbud, serviceberry, spirea thunbergii ogon, and Birkwood viburnum, also known as Korean spice bush, with its heavenly aroma. Flowering quince, crabapple, double flower viburnum, Japanese maple, mahonia, hosta, daffodils, hellebore. I could go on, but let's get to the dogwoods. According to Steve Edwards of Paducah's Edwards Nursery, buying a dogwood is a purchase for the future. That's his way of saying treat your dogwood well, and it will provide a lifetime of enjoyment, a sentiment I echo. With good conditions, a dogwood may grow 1 to 2 feet per year, typically topping out between 15 and 30 feet. Your patience will be rewarded over time, but plant now to begin seeing. Seeing those rewards. My parents planted dogwoods more than 70 years ago and planted more each year. While not all survive today, I am pleased to say many are still stately and colorful. They planted Cornus Florida. That's all that was available at the time. I lean toward Cornus Crusa, an improved variety that is more disease resistant and blooms later. Combining Florida with Crusa gives me the best of all worlds, stretching my period of color several months when counting other blooming ornamentals. But if you think Cornus Florida and Cornus Crusa are the only types of dogwood, you are sorely mistaken. Today I'll concentrate on 6 different dogwoods to demonstrate the breadth of the genus. Those 6 include the 2 best known, Cornus Florida and Cornus Crusa, plus Cornus sericea, Cornus moss, Cornus amomum, and Cornus controversa. These 6 are still a tiny sliver of the many dogwoods available today. In fact, the 7th variety is being distributed today by the McCracken County Beautification Board. That's the rough-leafed dogwood, botanical name Cornus drumundii. While not a showy ornamental like the ones I'll emphasize today, it does have a dainty, pretty bloom, attractive to wildlife. As its name says, the leaves of this small and deciduous tree are rough. The dogwood is generally used to create woodland habitat and can be used to edge parking lots, decks, flowers in summer with near white bracts, followed by small white fruits that ripen between August and October. It grows 15 to 25 feet tall with a spread of 10 to 15 feet across. More than 40 bird species feed on its fruit. These seedlings will be distributed at the conclusion of today's presentation, one per person until there are no more. Dogwoods bloom once a year, beginning in spring, usually April or May, but the color may last 3 months. The 2026 color parade of white, red, and pink bracts began in Paducah around March 22nd and will end when dogwood leaves fully emerge. Those light green leaves appearing now will darken with summer's heat. In fall, they'll turn deep red and be followed by the appearance of red berries or drupes, depending on the dogwood type. So how did the dogwood become known as the dogwood? 1753, flowering dogwood was first named Cornus florida by Swedish botanist Carolus Linnaeus, father of taxonomy. The dogwood genus is Cornus, a derivation of cornel, referring to a semi-precious stone. The word cornus actually means of the horn. You can read about that in the book Dogwoods by Capiello and Shadow I recommended earlier. There's also a reference to dogwood being a corruption of the word dagwood, a piece of wood used to skewer meat. Whatever you believe, Cornus is the genus. Cornus florida has been a West Kentucky staple for decades. Here are more interesting facts and dates. The flowering dogwood is native to eastern North America, from southern Maine to northern Florida, plus parts of Texas and Oklahoma, and west to the Mississippi River. According to botanic records kept at Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's home in Charlottesville, Virginia, the flowering dogwood was introduced to American gardens as early as 1731. That's nearly 300 years ago, as America celebrates its 250th birthday this year. Cornus florida is native to North America, but in 1783, nurseryman John Bartram, creator of Bartram's Garden in Philadelphia, which I visited in June of last year, began selling Cornus florida seed and seedlings to the public in what he called Bartram's boxes. Many of those boxes were sent to customers in Europe, launching distribution of dogwoods around the United States and the world. None of Bartram's original dogwoods survive today. The flowering dogwood is hardy in zones 5 through 9. Paducah being zone 7A, we are smack dab in the middle. The 4 bracts surround 20 or more tiny true flowers. Use of the word Florida in the name Cornus florida again refers to the fact that the tree blooms or flowers. This tree is happiest in partial shade. Leaves are usually opposite, with veins arching toward the tip with a smooth, wavy leaf margin. Distinctive bark, typically called a checkerboard, becomes scaly to finely blocky with maturity. Being understory trees, dogwoods prefer well-drained, humus-rich, slightly acidic soil and some shade. Understory means they don't like being in full sun, but if planted in full sun, as they often are in western Kentucky, they will adapt and survive, but not necessarily thrive. And when the tree canopy falls at the end of summer, dogwoods in the forest benefit greatly from decaying leaf litter. You can supplement your soil with fallen leaves, peat moss, and pine needles or bark. Bracts attract bees for pollination. The bottom photo is a close-up of the true flowers. They open from the center outward, as highlighted in the red circle. Avoid overwatering. Do not water a dogwood daily. That's a surefire way to kill it. Established dogwoods tolerate some drought. When soil surface is damp to the touch, don't water. If your soil contains clay, realize it may hold more water. Strive for 1 to 2 inches of water weekly. There's no perfect time to water a dogwood. It's mostly a matter of convenience. But when watering a dogwood, use a hose. Don't rely on an irrigation system. And focus the water on the ground, not on the foliage. And don't plant a dogwood in a wet spot. Moving to the Cornus cusa, which looks daintier to me, but is considered more rugged than the Cornus florida. More white dogwoods are sold, and a drive around Paducah easily confirms that. Homeowners report more problems with pink varieties. Cornus cusa is a small deciduous flowering shrub or multi-stemmed shrub. It grows 15 to 30 feet tall, with a vase-shaped habit in youth that becomes more rounded when mature. Similar to Cornus florida, its leaves are oval but narrower and more pointed with mottled, exfoliating tan gray bark when mature, as opposed to the alligator skin-like bark of the flowering dogwood. The cusa blooms later than the flowering dogwood. Cusa is more disease-resistant and cold-hardy than the flowering dogwood, but has a tendency to leaf scorch in full sun, especially where soil dries out. It attracts butterflies and tolerates browsing by deer in fall. It boasts red drupes. Take a close look at this newly introduced Cornus cusa, named Little Ruby. Can someone identify a distinction from other cusa dogwoods you've seen today? Anybody have an answer?
The bracts are different.
And how are they different?
There's
The
more
bracts
than
are
four.
different.
There's more than four.
Yes, there are 6. Most of them have 4. So focus on the pink bracts in the close-up on the right. Little Ruby is a recent collaboration between North Carolina State University and the North Carolina Nursery Association. Count the bracts. I've seen only 4 on other dogwoods, but this one has 6, demonstrating something new in dogwood breeding. This is a dwarf hybrid cultivar. Its parentage is Cornus cusa missatoni, and the evergreen dogwood Cornus hongkongensis, summer passion. This new specimen is a fragrant dogwood, giving plant collectors something new to search for, buy, and plant. It can be a multi-trunk shrub or trained as a tree, reaching 8 to 12 feet tall and 6 to 8 feet wide. It prefers average, well-drained garden soil in full sun to partial shade. It is more cold-hardy than most dogwoods and promoted as being disease-resistant. It sports a red flush on young leaves, followed by dark maroon fall color. It has pink bracts ranging from single to semi-double in late spring. It is recommended for small yards. Does anyone here grow Cusa stellar pink? It's been out on the market for several years. I happen to grow it. I added them to my landscape 20 years ago and have thoroughly enjoyed them. Stellar pink is a hybrid introduced by Rutgers University. It's a cross between a Florida and a Cusa. Its bracts have the pointed tips of a Cusa. In my experience, it is a slower growing tree, but mine is now full size. In time, it has become a stunning specimen, well worth the wait, and I have encountered no insect or disease issues. We'll now focus on the 6 other dogwood types. With multiple forms, there is truly something for every setting. First, Cornus sericea, a shrub previously named Cornus stolonifera. It's commonly called the red-twig dogwood. It's useful when creating a hedge. It can reach 7 to 20 feet tall, making a stunning focal point. In a departure from other dogwoods, this one loves sun and tolerates shade. It is a landscaper's favorite. Here we have the red osier, just one color of twig dogwood. A stunning specimen. This plant also comes in neon yellow, orange, and coral. Notice how the red, closer to magenta in this photo, contrasts with the lime green closer to the ground. I hope this next photo translates to you the same way it does to me. This is buds yellow. The dominant variety in this photo, the yellow twig dogwood. This photo of a nursery setting shows the impact this shrub can have. A row of neon yellow, and a few feet to the right toward the back of that photo, a brilliant row of blazing red. That is pretty powerful eye candy. Next, Cornus moss, the cornelian cherry. It too is a shrub, used to make javelins and spears in the 7th century BC. Tough, it adapts to varied growing conditions. It's not picky. It can take full sun or partial shade. It likes well-drained soil, but also works in both exposed and sheltered locations. Next, Cornus amomum, the silky dogwood. This variety is frequently distributed free when the County Beautification Board gives seedlings. It's happiest near water. Think floodplains, streams, and woods. Multi-stemmed, if a branch touches the ground, it may root. Its name is taken from the silky hairs found on the leaves and twigs. Its habit is wild and unkempt, with smooth gray bark. It is valuable for wildlife and pollination. Next, Cornus controversa, the giant dogwood, nicknamed the wedding cake tree. If there is such a thing as plant lust, this would be mine. The caveat for this specimen, you must have a large space to accommodate it and to fully enjoy its majesty. It will take sun to partial shade and grows at a moderate rate. Its leaves have a silver undercoat. For me, this tree is stunning. Described as a medium-sized deciduous tree, it is native to China, Korea, the Himalayas, and Japan. Typically growing 35 to 40 feet tall with distinctive horizontal branching in tiers. It produces creamy white bracts in flattened clusters each spring. You'll recall Cornus florida has opposite leaves. Only Cornus controversa, the wedding cake tree, and Cornus alternifolia have alternate leaves. Cornus controversa can be propagated via graft, seed, and stem cutting. It grows in zones 5 to 8 and blooms May through June in full sun to part shade. Afternoon shade is appreciated. Bluish-black drupes mature in late summer, attracting birds. Some fall color is described as not showy by the Missouri Botanical Garden in St. Louis. This plant resists twig blight, but is susceptible to leaf spot, root rot, and canker. The roughleaf dogwood being distributed today, Cornus drummondii. This is a shrub often confused with the gray dogwood. It forms a thicket but may be trained as a small tree. Has attractive white fruits, shown in the middle photo. It typically grows 6 to 15 feet tall and can spread as wide. Opposite, simple leaves are 1 to 5 inches long, rough on top, hairy underneath. The leaves have faint odor of sour milk when crushed. It produces clusters of yellowish white flowers about 1 to 3 inches across in late spring, which become globe-shaped, fleshy white fruits maturing in late summer to attract birds. Fall foliage turns a striking burgundy red. It prefers full sun to partial shade and tolerates clay soil. It is beneficial to wildlife, providing food and shelter. Its flowers attract bees and butterflies. Dense thickets provide nesting sites for birds. It grows rapidly and may suffer. Regular pruning maintains the desired shape and structure. You can find more information at the Morton Arboretum and the Missouri Department of Conservation. Now that we're acquainted with several options for incorporating trees into the landscape, let's focus on the proper care and feeding of these spring beauties. So you see a question posed here, which photo shows how to properly mulch a tree? Will somebody tell me which photo is the best directive for that? How do you properly mulch a tree?
Upper right-hand corner.
On the right-hand corner. Okay, that's one suggestion. I see somebody else nodding. You agree? You do? Okay. Well, you're going to be surprised because the answer is none of them. This is called a mulch volcano. It began appearing a few years ago. I'm uncertain where it started or why, but it does occur here in Paducah. Perhaps people had excess mulch and wanted to get rid of it or use it up. Maybe they saw somebody else do it and thought that was a good idea and copied it. Do not do this. You are shortening your valuable tree's life. The mulch volcano is expensive and bad practice. There's more than a full bag or scoop of mulch surrounding that single tree. It's totally unnecessary, wasteful, and bad practice. It hastens trunk decay, and most importantly, it hides the mischief that's going on underneath it that's being caused by molds and voles and other varmints. Use at most 2 to 3 inches of mulch per tree. Water. Dogwoods don't always need supplemental water. If the leaves are wilted, yes, water, but rainfall is often adequate. Do not water dogwoods daily. When mature, they can tolerate a bit of drought. It's during the first 2 years that water must be provided when needed. Don't water like clockwork. This is a chore to be done as needed. Avoid watering for 15 minutes every day at 7 a.m. That might work for you, but it rarely works for the plant. And when you do water, use a hose, not an irrigation system. In times of drought, both dogwoods and azaleas are shallow-rooted and will need supplemental water, directed at the roots, not the foliage. The goal is 1 to 2 inches of water each week. Dogwoods don't require much pruning. Remove anything dead. In the lower corner, the photo shows a crossed branch. That's one branch rubbing against the bark of another branch or trunk when the wind blows, gradually scraping away bark and causing damage. Remove crossed branches. Make neat, clean cuts with clean tools. Consider carrying alcohol prep wraps in your pruning kit so you can wipe down pruners and clippers after each use and not spray disease. Fungicides, readily available to treat anthracnose. If you suspect an issue with any of your trees, but especially dogwoods, with your cell phone, photograph all aspects of the tree, the leaves, the branches, the trunk, the ground below the tree before you tidy it up. Close-up photos are going to be most helpful. Collect the samples of branches and leaves. Place all of that in a baggie or a trash bag and bring it here to the horticulture agent that's in McCracken County, Mary Dossett, or her assistant, Savannah Gilbert, who's here with us today. Here at the Extension Office on New Holt Road. Mary and Savannah are knowledgeable. They'll diagnose the issue or send it to the lab for further testing and suggest an appropriate course of treatment. Today, in Mary's absence, Gracie Moffett, McCracken County's Agriculture and Natural Resources agent, is lending a hand. Make use of their knowledge. If your concern isn't borne out by the samples you submit or turns out to be something else, Savannah, Gracie, and Mary will advise you. Powdery mildew, you may have heard of this. It's been associated with dogwoods since 1994, according to Tennessee State University. It's usually found between late May and first frost. High humidity and dry leaves create the ideal story. Damage may be primarily cosmetic, but it will spread if not quickly addressed. To minimize the opportunity for powdery mildew, water plants at ground level rather than from above, which may create more humidity and encourage mildew growth. Improve air circulation with proper pruning. select mildew-resistant varieties. And when planting items susceptible to mildew infestation, plant where there's some sun to allow time to dry out. To summarize, start with healthy plants to avoid introducing disease to your landscape. Water dogwoods during drought, focusing on roots, not foliage. Apply a maximum of 2 to 3 inches of mulch to keep the roots cool. Hand weed around the plants to avoid mower and weed trimmer injuries which invite fungus. Inspect your trees and seek extension agent advice when you notice issues. Here's a sampling of items to consider when you choose to add a dogwood to your landscape. You might screenshot this page to keep these suggestions handy. Specifically, avoid wet spots when siting dogwoods, and if you know you're going to make a purchase, have a plan to get the plants home safely. You might need a tarp if you're in a truck that doesn't have a camper or some kind of covering on it to prevent damage from the wind as you travel. Don't expect the same amount of bloom every year. It goes in cycles. If your tree is exhibiting profuse color this year, don't expect show-stopping color again next year. And dogwood borer occurs under the bark and happens over time, not overnight. Closely and often inspect your landscape to maintain your health. Here's another practical tip. We tend to be a society that moves. Do your family and your future purchasers of your property a favor. Keep a record for yourself and for them of what's in your yard and why it's there. Was a tree planted for Mom's birthday or another momentous occasion? Was it planted to disguise something or correct an issue? That's valuable information. The 2026 Masters at Augusta National Golf Course begins this Thursday. This happens to be hole number 13. From 1858 until 1925, Augusta National was a 365-acre tree and plant nursery called Fruitland Nurseries. Did you know that? Well, you'll have 4 days of spectacular golf. I hope you tune in at some point and pay attention to the course details. Each hole is named for a plant or shrub. Now, I mention this because there is a sports impact. Golf is linked to the dogwood. Years ago, the heads of golf club drivers, that's what you use to tee off. That club was fashioned from dogwood, which was also favored for making bows for archery. Anybody know that? This is a good time to remind McCracken County residents, since 2020 and COVID, you are eligible to receive free soil tests. Currently 5 complimentary tests annually. The benefit is provided by the McCracken County Extension District Board. Take advantage of it. I'll close mentioning 4 dogwoods for Kentucky homes. 2 tried and true standards you may already grow in your home landscape or wish to incorporate. The first 2 are Cornus, Florida. This one is Cloud 9, introduced in 1961. All dogwoods, but particularly Cornus, Florida, are susceptible to Discula destructiva, form of dogwood anthracnose that can ravage trees. Also, you see a partial hand in the photo on the left, giving you a sense of the size of the Cloud 9 bract. Next is Cornus, Florida, Cherokee Princess. It and Cloud 9 are the 2 best white dogwoods for Kentucky. As you see in the sidebar on the far right, Cherokee Princess was originally introduced in 1959-60 under the trade name Snow White. It is known as a particularly heavy bloomer, as the largest photo demonstrates. is Scarlet Fire, the first Coosa released by the Rutgers University breeding program. Two noticeable things about this Coosa introduced in 2016, the pointed bracts and the deep magenta color. Again, this profusion of color may last 8 weeks. As mentioned earlier, Coosa varieties are more disease resistant and bloom later than Florida. Recall the difference from Little Ruby, on which we counted the 6 bracts rather than just the 4 you see here. The last variety I'll mention is another Coosa introduced in 2006 and known as Venus. Thought by many to be the best Coosa on the market today. Like all Coosa dogwoods, the bracts are sharply pointed and may be up to 6 inches across. I have some anecdotal info about Venus. It performed well on the sunny deck at Lake Barkley and was featured in a gold medal winning exhibit at last year's Chelsea Flower Show. Venus is advertised as attracting butterflies. You now know Cornus Florida has billowy, rounded bracts, where Cornus Coosa has pointed bracts. Another distinction is the fruit. Cornus Florida has brightly colored seeds, where Cornus Coosa has fruits. Those are thin-skinned, fleshy fruit with a central stone containing the seed, compared to a plum, cherry, almond, or olive, resembling a small golf ball or round raspberry. I'm frequently asked if people can eat dogwood drupes and seeds. I have no personal knowledge, but I have read and heard conflicting answers. At least one reputable source says dogwood drupes and seeds are edible. Other sources say they are not. The source saying they are edible warned they have an astringent taste, suggesting he had tasted at least one and survived. That's the best answer I can provide. Bragging rights. Finally, we're obsessed with the biggest, the boldest, the brightest. Here's the biggest and brightest, oldest dogwood on earth. You can visit it in the cemetery in Sampson County, North Carolina. At 31 feet tall, this tree was deemed mature in 1864. That's 162 years ago. By comparison, Kentucky's largest flowering dogwood, Cornus Florida, our champion dogwood, for which you received a publication this morning, is in Warren County. That's Bowling Green, Kentucky. It stands 35 feet tall, 4 feet higher than the tallest dogwood on earth. I'm not casting aspersions, just doing the math. If you want more details, screenshot this slide. That blue text at the bottom will give you access to a video about the North Carolina tree. Thank you for coming today. Check the McCracken County Extension Office website periodically for future horticulture offerings and the next 4 seasons with Master Gardeners presentation. If you have questions, especially requests for chemical recommendations, please see Gracie or Savannah. Enjoy the refreshments. Pick up your roughleaf dogwood as you leave, and have a great day.
Mm-hmm.